Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. Thank you very much for being here. Today, we are again talking about tabletop role playing games, specifically science fiction. And then we're taking media, movies, television shows, and doing a very soft review of them. But really, we're here to take what those concepts are about, maybe terrible execution, but great high concepts, and then use them for our tabletop role playing experience. And having been an only child for a short period of my life, and being a complete sci-fi nerd, I've watched a lot of of television shows, more than I remembered. It's a little bit it's a bit of an addiction, which is like, wait a minute, I've seen this many shows. Here's another one we're going to talk about today, the 4400. Again, a lot of these shows are like a quasi Canadian shows that were viewed here in the States, and were based around high concepts and during a period of time which also blended the mystery box type of storytelling. And we talked about mystery boxes before here. The mystery box is a ton of writers get in a room and they come up with a lot of story hooks. I'll even say red herrings. And through the course of writing the show based on viewership and technically their own interest, they may or may not explain the mysteries that are given to us. And what happens is these mysteries are stacked, or even they overlap each other. So as one question is answered, 10 more, as you get one answer, you get 10 more questions. And the 4400, honestly, for it being a mystery box show, was actually well written, I feel. The 4400 had, how many seasons was there? 4 seasons of the show. Of course, unfortunately, a lot of television shows, yeah, quasi, poly-Canadian, semi, demi-Canadian. I don't know. A bunch of gorgeous people with low budgets, and and whatnot, done on these television shows. Yeah. Hey, I like your little. Does it show up? Ooh, and the hammer and sickle does show up there, lords. So, what is the premise of the 4400? So, what does Wikipedia say? A division, the National Threat Assessment Command, or NTAC, a division of the Department of Homeland Security, is in charge of dealing with the return of the 4400. Now, the 4400 in short was 4,400 individuals are returned on the beach like lake in Seattle. And those 4,400 individuals are returned because many of them disappeared at various and random periods of time throughout history. Oh, hey there, shitlord. You could always shows up. Now, those 4,400 individuals, many were assumed to have been abducted by aliens, and they disappeared at various periods of time, only to all of them return, having not aged at all and having no memory of where they were, just a vague sense of slight time passing, to be returned to the United States or whatnot. The creator, Scott Peters, has stated that the series was originally titled A Light in the Sky, but looking for something unique, he decided to play around with numbers instead and arrived at 4,400 because it just sounded cool and was a very round number with 2 4s and 2 zeros. Well, that's usually creatively, like myself, sometimes we come up with like it sounds deep. It sounds like an iceberg, but it really isn't. Someone's like, I thought 4,400 was rounded, but it sounds like an iceberg thing. Like the number 4,400 means something deep. And it was just like, nah, he was probably, giving a courtesy flush in the third stall and was like, I got a name for a show. So um, many of the returnees have trouble getting their lives back on track, and after being gone from the world for years, significantly a small number of returnees begin to manifest paranormal abilities such as telekinesis, telepathy, and precognition, as well as other gifts. For example, in the pilot, Sean Farrell manifests an ability to heal the broken neck of a dead bird, bringing it back to life. In addition, one of the 4400, Lily Moore, has become pregnant between her disappearance and return. And so this show is stacked with mysteries, but I feel like, but I feel like the way they structured the show, honestly, um, it was more organized than most of these mystery box shows. So let's get to the examples of the mystery boxes. So one mystery box slash high concept is time travel. And when I mean time travel, I don't mean going through a portal. I mean individuals were taken from different periods of time and returned, but they have not aged. So one of the characters has siblings, disappears like 16 years ago or 10 years ago, comes back. He has not aged, but his siblings and best friends have. So now he returns and wants to maybe go to high school, sees his friends, but their friends now are all out of high school and they're grown. Siblings that were similar in age now have a huge age gap. So you do have those periods of time. Some individuals were, the married couple that gets separated because one gets abducted. When they come back, the other spouse has remarried because the other one was gone for 5 to 7 years or something like that. So there's this vacancy of time and the social implications of that. There's a really good scene that I'll tell you about that involved the actor Mahershala Ali, award-winning, I think Academy Award-winning Mahershala Ali gets an introduction into the show 4400, and there's a great and rather disturbing relationship that he has because of time travel. So Shitlord says, I would have trouble getting my life back on track too after the probing they give you. Yeah, there's comments about the probing and the end of the first season. They answer the mystery of the alien abduction. So there's a great scene in early on in the first season where Mahershala Ali, according to the show, African American, disappears back in like the 40s and 40s, 50s ish, and he wants to run away with. This is a period of maybe it's the 20s. Anyway, it's a period of time where being black and having a relationship with a white woman was not favorably looked upon socially here in the States. So he's like, hey, run away with me. She's like, okay. They decide to meet up somewhere and he gets abducted just before she arrives. So they're separated. When he returns, a young lady that looks exactly like the woman that he was going to run away with arrives. She is the granddaughter of the woman that he wanted to have a relationship with. So when he returns, he's got all the feels for her. She has a lot of paperwork, like letters and love letters and things about this gentleman that her grandmother never got an opportunity to be with. And she's got the feels, albeit through letters that are written to her grandmother, but she kind of feels like a kinship. And so that's a little bit of it's not as dirty as we would think, but there's a little bit of a strangeness to it for these two to basically have a connection and want an intimate connection, even though they've never met each other through time and such like that. Gentleman falling for the granddaughter, right? But she's a grown woman. Relax on that, guys. And they end up going to a diner where he sees people of all shades and gender, races, and he's like, wow. In his head, he's like, this is great. Society has really improved. They're embracing everybody. You see people with multicolored hair and all different like races sitting together and religions sitting in this diner. It's a little bit ridiculous having that mix, but yeah, he goes in there. This is great. He pulls out a pack of cigarettes and gets ready to light one up, and everyone stares at him and they're like, "You're not allowed to smoke in here." And then he kind of mumbles to himself. He's like, "Wow, the more things change, the more things stay the same," and it's pretty funny. Well, that's the one high concept: people taken out of time, returned, and the social foibles. That same concept was done in the television show Manifest, which is another show similar to 4400. People disappear, they come back. Some of them have psychic powers or gifts. And of course, the gifts are very easy to film because you can just have someone like touch their temple or wake up in a cold sweat, or roll their eyes in the back of their head and seem like they pass out and they have some kind of special power, right? Very cheap to do with psychic powers. Another concept is, of course, with the psychic powers, are giving people unreliable usage of those abilities. So they are used in a they move at the power and speed of plot. So maybe someone is telekinetic or telepathic or something, and it's useful for the story, but then it's not useful when trouble starts or things like that. And it's a very good storytelling element. A third part of a high concept of 4400 was, of course, the reason why they came back. And many people are looking at them. I love concepts that change society. So cults start appearing, wanting to worship these individuals that were back, considering them to be harbingers of good tidings, or angelic even, that these individuals have great capabilities and they're going to lead us into a new era of prosperity and such. And I love the show is more X-Files than superheroes, but I do like that I did like the idea of in 4400 of special powers, special people, and the agency that had to have social worker, half investigating team, half black ops team, half. I guess 1/3 each of those. And of course, our main characters had to operate in all of those things. You know, they were trying to merge them back into society and also keep track of their like medical needs, and also try to figure out where they're going to live if they didn't have any support system, and get them jobs, and also try to stop crimes against them. And then we have a murder. And we find out that one or more of the people that are returned aren't exactly the nicest people in the world. One of them being a serial killer who can turn other people merge with other people to commit crimes. And the question was, these people return to Earth, and maybe they really are here for harbingers of good, but does that mean they're going to do they have a nihilistic intent to wipe maybe humanity clean to start anew? That sure, they may bring on a new age of enlightenment, but you know, how much of the house do they have to destroy to build on the new stuff? And yet a fourth concept in the 4400 was, okay, how do I explain this one? There is the people returned have connections that are making unlikely things happen in the world. So, for example, individuals are being placed into positions of great power, and one or more of our 4400 that were returned. And listen, with 4400, you had a lot of NPCs to pick from to start a lot of these other, like, as the bodies start dropping and you've got more criminals and you have all these plot lines. With 4400 individuals returned, there's plenty of a frothy mix of NPCs to play with in the show, for there to be some comedy, some drama, some mystery, some action, and a whole lot of humans meet aliens, but they're just actually more humans. And as each season went on, they would answer a question and then come upon new other elements. For example, as these individuals that were returned start causing more trouble and not fitting into society, a lot of the 4400 started leaving their homes and gathering together in one spot, which started making people, the public, a bit, dare I say, paranoid about the collection of power and wanting to control that power or corral that power. So then you have spies. You have spies within the cults that are surrounding some of these individuals. You have some of the public wanting to put some of these individuals into places of power in politics and corporations and things, simply because of their status as the 4400 brought back. You have some that are charlatans that were the 4400 that display no abilities, but they're just pretending to, they're wearing Birkenstocks and linen robes and carrying around incense and making other people believe that they have some insight that they really don't. And others that just want to be left alone and are being harassed by people spray painting on their houses and throwing eggs at their homes, and riding by in convertible cars, screaming at them to go back where they came from. And of course, we have all the personal interpersonal stories that were unresolved when the people left in the first place. So 4400, frothy mix, right? And at the end of the first season, spoiler alert, you come to find out that yes, these people were abducted, but they were not abducted by aliens at all. They were abducted by human beings from the future. So each season gave us a new, like, wait, what? These weren't, we got to see the proverbial dark place in the woods, human being, light from the sky, beamed up alien abduction thing, right? And then you're just like, wait, they were humans? Like, yeah, these were human beings that deposited these individuals back. And then, of course, there's a season, I think it was not Prosium. Oh, I'm thinking of Equilibrium, which is another movie, a brilliant movie. But let's see. Promycin, that's it. By the second season, it is revealed that all 4400 have a fictional neurotransmitter, promycin, in their brains, which gives them their powers. The government, afraid of what this large group would do with such power, has secretly been dosing all of the 4400 with a promycin inhibitor, which had worked on most, but not all, of the 4400. One of the inhibitor's side effects is a potentially fatal immune deficiency. The inhibitor is ultimately removed from the 4400 by a dose of promycin extracted by Kevin Burkhoff from the blood of the infant Isabel, who was never given the inhibitor. And then at the beginning of the third season, there's the Nova Group, a terrorist faction made up of the 4400, emerges. Originally formed as a defensive group in the aftermath of the promycin inhibitor scandal, the Nova Group eventually carries out numerous terrorist attacks against the government and NTAC. And then during the third and fourth season, it is revealed that only a certain faction from the future wants to see history changed. Another faction, which prefers the status quo, opposes the 4400 and has sent their own operatives, known as the Marked, into the past. The exact motives of both factions were not revealed. And so this show was a mystery box on top of a mystery box. Yeah, Gaster says, pardon me, but I'm a bit unfamiliar with what 4400 is. 4400 is a mystery box wrapped inside of individuals. The 4400, let's get some imagery up here. The 4400 is a television or was two television shows, because there was a very short reboot. About 4400 individuals returned to Earth after being abducted from the past. And so those 4400 are returned, and the entire mystery of the 4400 is what the show is about. These 4400 have these special abilities, and their return, the mystery of why they're back, who they are, where they came from, their connections with individuals. So yeah. So Gasper Two Soul says, I see. So like Lost, but didn't have an ending that didn't suck, well, don't go, hey, don't get ahead of us here. So again, the dark spiral of television shows is the fact that a great concept with terrible execution that doesn't get viewership means that it gets canceled and we never find out what the answer is. The other dark spiral of television shows is the show is well liked and it goes on for 2, 3, 4 seasons and people love the show, which means that the writers have to keep coming up with reasons to continue the show. Again, the dark spiral. Sometimes it spirals out of control. Sometimes it spirals in and disappears. The spiral out. Yeah, Drew. Yeah, exactly, Drew. So the dark spiral out for a well-liked show is that they can never answer and end the show. They must continue the storylines. Well, at a certain point, the rising viewership goes up, and the minute it comes down, again, show gets canceled. So all of the stories that the writers had to keep continuing never quite get answered. Spoiler alert for the 4400 that people didn't watch. Many of the 4400 that were returned, a lot of them dead, gone, murdered, assassinated, self-deleted, things like that, have gathered together under the banner of one very charismatic leader. And strangely enough, that leader had the ability to become completely immune to any others of the 4400's abilities, if I'm not mistaken. So this leader, this charismatic leader, creates these devices. They're basically glow orbs. You could tell they were like the LED glow orbs, and they create these glow orbs, and the 4400 make a big ring around their encampment, and they start walking, placing these orbs down. And any non-4400 that tries to pass through the border of the orbs gets a brain freeze. Basically, get into it and go, and they get the blood from the nose and the ears, the classic psychic backlash. And the end of the season is you could see the border of these glow orbs and the people walking starting to spread from Seattle through the United States. So basically, they keep walking and placing the orbs down, and every time someone threatens the 4400, they place the orbs, they take them out further. And I believe NTAC was thinking about basically dropping small tactical nukes on them to kill them and stuff. You never find out what happens during that period of time. Yeah, there's even a weird time travel element to age up one of these young girls to become a mid-20s actress. Pretty wild stuff in the show. Now, why am I bringing up 4400 for tabletop role-playing, since we went this deep into explaining, or rather not explaining 4400? Well, the show, and mind you, the show is actually written really well. It is taking high concepts. So 4400 took a number of different concepts. So sometimes if we have a mono concept, a what if, a speculative fiction concept, sometimes we need to, it's good for us to not be so hyper focused into one thing. So an example is in science fiction, one of our what ifs might be, what if we had time travel? Or what if we had cloning? Or what if we had human-looking robots? And that may be the only concept. 4400 takes like 3, 4, 5 of these concepts and kind of mixes them together in a frothy mix. We have the concept of people taken out of time and returned back home. We have people with mysterious psychic abilities. Are they here to harm us or hurt us or help us? We also have the mystery of, is there an alien force that is going to influence our society? We also have the concept of, if players are the special people, where do they fit into society? Are they the antagonists or protagonists? Are they loved or hated? And that kind of thing. Yep. Yeah. Aliens plus time travel element equals suspension of disbelief disintegration formula. Yeah, it was a little bit of that. I mean, listen, I was actually impressed that they actually answered questions during the show. Like the end of the first season, they answered the question, were we abducted by aliens? And mind you, throughout the show, the characters themselves are questioning their own status. So they're saying out loud. What I liked about the show was, like you guys are saying, wait a minute, aliens plus time travel, like, whoa. They themselves are actually questioning the high concept. So you do have characters going like, well, were you abducted by aliens? I don't know. I think you were anal probed. Let's check. The characters like, please don't pull my pants down. I mean, it wasn't literally like that, but there were some characters that were pretty funny when they were talking about like, well, where did you come from? What happened to you? And things like that. So they do answer the question, were they abducted by aliens? And the question was no, they were abducted by humans from the future. And so you do get an answer to it. And then there are some characters who have questionable special abilities. By the second season, those special abilities become more cemented. Hey, I can control and have telepathic access to animals. I have telekinesis. I can heal people, but it causes me to be fatigued. I can do telepathic contact with individuals for short periods of time. It's things like that. Deadman says the first iteration stated that a second wave of lost people were to be returned for the 5th season, but problems with the Writers Guild of America forced the show to end. Yep. Yeah. Real life things happen when it comes to writers' rooms. And for some reason, just for me, I have an easy ability to both enjoy a show for what it is and then see how the sausage is made and not be affected by either side. I know some people, if they find out how the sausage is made for a television show, like the Writers Guild, strikes with the Writers Guild, or two actors that didn't like each other, or contract negotiations, or whatever. To me, I don't know. I just have an easy ability to divorce myself from one side or the other to enjoy a thing for what it is. And by the way, Dead Man, I've read every comment you've ever put, whether it was just for me to see and not. Like so I'm not ignoring you. I like to formulate my thoughts. Like, I would really like to use that poem that you wrote, which I actually copied to a Google Doc, but I wanted to get your permission to use it, as well as the comments under the Obsidian Star document. I have those too. I haven't responded to them yet because I'm still like, some of the changes are a little deeper than a little bit, maybe more even than you thought about. So Shitlord says real life things in writers' rooms like murder. Not maybe not. Well, I don't know. Maybe there have been real murders in writers' rooms. I don't know. But anyway, what I like about the concept of 4400 is, for example, when our players want to be the special people. And if you have a game where they are the special ones, right? They're the ones with the psychic powers. They're the ones running around, causing and having all of the fun things to have happen in our role-playing games, especially maybe something a little bit more grounded, like a Call of Cthulhu, or maybe a D20 Modern, or something of that nature. We have 4,400 other adversaries, enemies, allies, NPCs to pull from to cause trouble for our main characters. So 4,400 is not a large population when you compare it to like 9 billion people, but it's a small enough number that it doesn't make much impact when you have 8-9 billion people on the earth. But it's a huge impact because with 4,400, unless you're playing games for 35 years with your gaming group, you'll never go through 3,000, what was it? 4,395 NPCs, because your 5-person group, it won't murder hobo all of them, right? So there's a possibility of having essentially what would be an indeterminate number of other special people that you can always turn against your player characters. We also have a mystery of why did they come back? So the mystery of why did they come back, you could literally just leave it up to the players. Why do you think you came back? Were you sent back here to stop something that's going to happen in the future? Were you sent back here to be agents of change to make sure that humanity went on its own? Were you here to unearth the lizard folk that have taken over the government and unmask the lizard folk that have taken over? Maybe they were brought back from an evil entity, and the players are rebels against the evil forces. The 4400 maybe are an invasion force, and to infiltrate, to be sleeper agents, and the PCs have awakened and they're like, we need to go up against all 4400. What do we do? So the players could come up with that, or you can come up with your own mystery, or maybe there's a double agency. Yes, they were sent back by a corrupt far future element, but the players are the good guys. But the evil element, really, technically, they were doing it for a good reason, but using evil methods, things like that. So Shai says, it is very off-putting that internet discussion of shows and books has devolved into nitpicking shit going on with the company and creative minds involved. Yes, yes, very much so. And unfortunately, it bleeds over into... It can bleed over into many of the creatives and the artists involved that have nothing to do with it. I'm looking at you, toxic Star Wars fans that hate the actors who literally have zero to do with the portrayal or budgets or marketing or mandates from the people who control the money. He or she who controls the money controls what happens. All actors do, unless it's in their contract, is show up, they read words given to them, they wear clothing that is placed on them, they arrive in makeup and sets that are made for them, and they do their best to pretend to be what's on the page. That's all they do. Asking for their deaths is pretty damn ridiculous. It's not just immature, it shows a it shows a lack of knowledge of their own neural divergency to the point of wanting to cause harm to other people on purpose, right? It's like delving into it. It's like, yeah, I'm toxic and I like it kind of thing. Deadman says, feel free to use on Discord or on the City Star book document. Okay. I wanted to get your permission, essentially. If I use anything, anyone's names or things people write, although presumably the moment you post it publicly, technically it's usable, but I mean, it's just good. It's just to have a good habit to ask people permission. Why does lizard folk from government removal always have to be relegated to the realms of science fiction? I don't know. I don't know where that... Maybe it's because the squirrels that really control the lizard folk are never pointed out. And what is it? The fake birds that land on telephone wires listening into phone calls. Maybe the lizard folk are the scapegoats of the true individuals controlling everything through the pyramids with the single eye on them. Shai says, it is unfair to the actors, and this toxic YouTube shit's also doing more than WotC to ruin D&D. Yeah. I agree with you. Going in detail about Gygax being an a-hole, or that horrible woman who ran TSR to the ground, etc. Yeah, it's kind of in the past, isn't it? Right? Like, and to think, I don't know why we think corporations have to have like actual... it's not a hot take to say a corporation is only out for money. Duh. Right? And that they hire people whose only objective is to earn money. Wow. Oh, that's now I could do a bunch of like hit pieces to garner to hit the dope to get the dopamine going in the brain, to get people riled up and hype and things like that. Dopamine, the greatest addictive drug in the world, and is inside of us, right? And that's the whole WotC thing. WotC doesn't matter. if you like 5th edition, it's free and in the public domain. I the only reason I follow what's going on with the brand Dungeons and Dragons and WotC is because it comes up on my feed all the time because it's the most popular role-playing game in the world. But there's other fantasy games out there that are D20 that we have access to now, and we've always had access to, that give no money to the corporation. So, and it's a corporation, no big deal. It just is. Uh, your fantasy gaming, whether you all your old Dungeons and Dragons stuff, they're not going to send police to take it from you, and there's nothing wrong if you like to play it. There's this weird like desire to have people pick a side, and you don't have to pick a side. I will probably never watch a Kevin Spacey movie in the future, but I saw them in the past and I kind of like the movies he was in the past. Call me a hypocrite, but whatever, right? You know, um, there's a lot of people who consider themselves to be vegetarians and vegans, and on the side, they're eating a whole bunch of like eggs and fish and meat. And like, you made that distinction on your own. You don't have to abide by your diet for anybody, right? Eat what you want. I'm not judging, you know. You're judging your own self. Drew says, speaking of Star Wars, Jesse Gender has made a few months ago a great, even though almost 6 hours long video about that franchise. I like Jesse Gender. I like there's a little bit of the poke, the dopamine poke a little bit with Jesse Gender, but Jesse and 3 other people were talking about Dune. I really enjoyed that podcast as well. So yeah, I enjoy her stuff. Shice Squad says, and I had, or they, shit, I probably used the wrong pronoun. Sorry about that. Yeah, like Jess looks over at this channel. Sorry about that. I love the channel, so that goes to show you where I come from. Shice says, and I have a high tolerance to toxic shit on YouTube, and it still bothers the fuck out of me. Yeah, I miss the days when nobody gave a F about the personal lives of the people who wrote all this stuff. Unfortunately, like, I do have friends of my wife and I, we have friends of family, and sometimes we're like, hey, why don't everybody come over and we have a cookout or watch movies or something, and we have people who literally are just like, we'll mention a TV show or a movie that we can all get together and watch and eat, have popcorn and stuff, and they're like, oh, I can't watch that person, blah blah blah, and we're just, and it's like we have to tiptoe around stuff. Yeah. Yep, Shitlord says Kevin Spacey is or was awesome. The trick is to ignore all his baggage. Yeah, listen, fondling dudes without their dudes without their permission. Come on, really, really. But hey, found innocent, right? So maybe more of an asshole than a criminal. So right, but like, I drive a car. I can guarantee you that car, someone on the assembly line who helped build the car that I love, paid for, no car payment, wife, we had a little party and stuff. Listen, somebody there probably did some illegal shit. If probably an asshole. Am I not going to drive my car because of that? No. So we pick and choose sometimes the things we get mad about. And unfortunately, hundreds, sometimes thousands, tens of thousands of people make the media that we like. To judge it off of one person's actions is pretty horrible, when other people who, costume designers put a lot of time and effort to make the things that they make. Look at the Lord of the Rings won all kinds of awards. Was there probably an asshole in the group? Yes. WotC might send the Pinkertons. Slow clap on that one, Deadman. I forgot about that. Yeah, they might come. We sent out RPG books to you too early. Doing the proverbial foot in the door with like the black turtlenecks and the black sweaters with the bulge, the pistol bulge underneath the black shark skin blazer and stuff. Yeah. Bunch of thick neck dudes with earpieces. at the front door. Like, what the? You could have you could have just given me $150 worth of like free stuff. I'd have given the books back to you. Had you just asked me, send me an email. Damn. Drew says people are just the worst. If you stop consuming stuff based on terrible people involved, then there is nothing left to consume. Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean I approve of people doing terrible things. It's it, it I live my life based on scientific method. So things produced, examples of things in the past, if we've come up with answers, then I use that same scientific method for the future. So we do have a lot of people who get very upset in our social media forums who haven't used the scientific method to discern what they're upset about. So am I upset that somebody who deserves to be throat punched did something with my car? That's not going to stop me from driving my car, which means that the thousands of people that made some artistic media that I like, that someone in it is terrible as well. It's just a product, and I like that product. Same thing with WotC and the Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. I will always fondly remember all of my role-playing sessions with Dungeons and Dragons. There's nothing a corporation can do to ruin the fun times that I have with my role-playing games. There's two separate things, and it's not a hot take to say that a corporation is trying to make money. That's not. It's saying that is not like, oh, you're so right. It's no. That's normal. That's what corporations do. That's the purpose of a business. So, yeah. We have to ignore everybody's baggage. Yeah, most great artists are horrible in real life. Yep. Lennon, James Brown, and certainly Jim Morrison were all the kind of people you don't want to be around. Mozart too. Yep. As the let's talk like the hippie era. We're going to get back to 4400, I promise. But during the hippie era, there's this mythological short era of the hippie era, and it was all freedom and love. And you know what else happened? Venereal diseases, drug addiction, police overreach. I mean, I'm living in the state. Remember Kent State and the students that were gunned down by guardsmen, National Guardsmen and such. For those who don't know, trivia, there was a statue erected for the president of Kent State. And it was one of these things that it was already set up, and it was a bad move, but the money was already spent. And inside the statue that was actually eventually taken down were etched the names of the students that died. And the president wanted it etched in there as a permanent reminder to himself to not let something like that ever happen again on his campus. So while people blamed the president, he actually felt very guilty about what happened, to the point that he admitted that inside the statue, he had them etch the names of the students that passed away. So yeah, it was I don't remember the exact details of the time, like what happened when, was the time period or something like that. But yeah, unarmed students were gunned down. Yeah, separation of ideas is the groundstone of deductive logic. Well, thank you. Yep. And what's practice? Past practices lead to outcomes. And so if a practice is repeatable scientifically, then I go for that practice. So when people come up with these really strange ideas and things like that, I'm like, okay, well, did we do this in the past? And did it work out very well? If it didn't work out, well, maybe we should change it. If it really worked out pretty well, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, Drew says, still, if the central figure is an outspoken bigot, then I will stop to care about it. Like Harry Potter died to me because of Rowling. Yeah, you know what? I think sometimes we as artists, all of us combined, think that we are more important. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. For you, Drew, Rowling to you is what's his name for me as a bigot? Oh, Dilbert, the creator of Dilbert, is the same way to me, right? Like a self-professed uh, bigot, and I'm just like, really, dude, really? Like, some people should actually shut up, right? And so some artists think that their ideas are their voice is more important than they really are. You know, it's like, listen, you're just an actor. You pretend to be other people. Your opinions about politics don't really matter. You know, it's that kind of thing. Like, you're a great, I don't know, painter or a great playwright, you know, but your opinions about, like, you know, certain things, maybe shut up, maybe zip it. Yeah. Oh man, that is true. Did they had the satanic? That's funny. That is very funny. Yeah. The hippie generation left a messy legacy. We all know how much present day youngsters who fancy themselves hippies tend to suck. Yeah. Oh man, long beards and man buns. Yeah. Look, I don't in there a little bit. All right, let's get back to let's time travel and get back to 4400. So um the concepts also in 4400, what which this is the part of world building that I really love, is a high concept that changes the way society operates. And by changing the way society operates, we have a lot of story features. So, for example, yeah, HP Lovecraft. I know, I see where you're going. Do I love to play Call of Cthulhu? Yeah. Was HP Lovecraft a bit of a, yeah? Is he a victim of his own? Not victim, a product of the time? Oh hell's yes. So yeah, I'll play the game, but I ain't giving no money to the family. Well, maybe I am accidentally sometimes, but whatever. Yeah. Oh, I hear you, Shice. Yep. So, um, what I love about the changes in society to me are things like cults springing. We love ourselves some cults. There's something great about cults too, right? Like a great cult. I mean, you get to add in like badass individuals that are part of cults. You get to add in rich folks who are trying to be part of the cult. You get to add in your blue collar baseline thugs in cults. We also get to add in like a cult gets to have us take people's personalities and twist the nipples up to like the extreme where they give up their lives for some greater cause for a cult. Also, we get to have lots of using reds and blacks and candles and incense and things. And of course, cults have to be hidden in like warehouses and sewer systems and things like that. So we get a lot of cult-ish behavior, a lot of sycophants with the 4400 as well. So we get that part of it. Yeah, has anybody ever invited you to join a cult? Anybody here? I don't know. I've never have. Well, no, there was Amway. So pyramid scheming Amway. So I remember that. Lovecraft had the advantage that back then he had no social media to get canceled. Well, he was playing to the crowd, so there was a propensity for people to go along to get along, even if it was pretty horrible behaviors and beliefs back then. So yeah, if you spoke up and was against that kind of stuff until the groundswell came about, people were pretty much arrogant. Like, of course we are the best way we are. What was the comment made in the current television show Shogun, which is airing on Hulu on FX here in the States anyway. The In Shogun, our main European character, Blackthorn, expresses to the Japanese, our main Japanese character, that the world was divided up by the Europeans, the Portuguese and the English, and that Japan belonged to somebody else. And to tell a Japanese warlord, who's going to be who's looking to be, God Emperor, to tell him that, oh yeah, your entire country, your entire world being is owned by some other country that thinks of you as nothing but like, oh, you're just savages. we'll export, Christianity to you to get you to, come into civilized world, is pretty much a slap in the face, right? So there was that period of time. Some other story elements, I think. Well, let me go down a laundry list and make these short bullet points for 4400, since you guys are distracted by Lovecraft and problematic elements of Lovecraft that therein. Not that you're wrong. So we've got cults and sycophants and protectors of the 4400. We have individual family members and neighborhoods that might be in protection of the 4400, no matter how problematic some members of the 4400 might be. We have any number of special powers that might be exhibited by members of the 4400. It is yeah, insanity. You're right. You're so right about that one. Yeah, insanity defense works every time when you're a horrible asshole. It sure does, unfortunately. Let's see. They don't tell you this in the show, but they heavily hint that no single power is duplicated amongst the 4400. So you can use a laundry list of special powers. Like maybe one person has telekinesis, someone else can shape metal, someone else can walk through walls, someone else can teleport, somebody else has mind control, someone else can astral project. I'm trying to pick some of your big brain psychic powers. Someone else has what is it, healing. Someone else can drive you insane. Someone else has control over emotions. So on and so forth. Someone else has illusions. Blah blah blah. And so, and then there's different kinds of mind control. Do you erase people's minds? Do you probe their minds? Do you control someone's body but not their mind? Do you take possession of them like a ghost possesses someone? So do you pass out and literally inhabit their body as in possession? Do you create illusions that everyone sees or only one individual sees? Et cetera, right? And so you can have fun with that. Also, are there sleeper agents? So are there good NPCs and allies that might switch on a dime based on something? During each season of the show, they introduced another foible, like the promycin was a injectable that either was intended to inhibit their powers. Does that mean that these people are going to become powder kegs, and when the promycin stops, their powers get bigger? Can this promycin give regular folks that were not part of the 4400 superpowers? Is the promycin addictive? As it was stated in the show, it gives them a immunodeficiency syndrome, but there's all kinds of other side effects. Maybe it ages them very quickly, or it drives them insane, or it mutates their bodies, or everyone that, if they stop taking it, they have a psychic scream that will kill people, or they become carriers of their special abilities. And when they're around other people, hey, they may pass away, but other people just being in proximity gain those special, like you can come up with all these other kind of story what ifs and things, and take from 4400 for something for your own sci-fi games. Also, the technology that allowed these 4400 to be returned is this technology from something that's far above and beyond what's available in the story, or is this kind of like technology available to the player characters, and this is a third-party agency that returned to 4400, and this is a brand new foible in your sci-fi game. So, for example, maybe there is I'm going to call it the Grand Republic. And the Grand Republic, they have starships and warp drives and everything, but some third party deposits 4,400 people in the parliament, the main central parliament of the city of the Republic, and no one knows who this other party is. That's been uncharted. And they came from so far away, stealing an idea from the Ahsoka show, that they come from so far away that no one has been able to reach that part of the spiral arm, but yet they arrived here and dropped people off that were abducted from dozens to hundreds of years ago and deposited here. And this becomes the new foible. And oftentimes what happens in these shows, Shitlord says, never had that privilege. Somebody did try to rope me into a pyramid scheme once, though. Yeah, me too. Me too. They tried to rename Amway as something, began with a Q. And I was just like, hell no, I'm not doing that. That pyramid scheming and stuff like that. But so a lot of times what we can boil down, what I end up calling a monkey wrench, but maybe a different terminology for monkey wrenching, is a new resource has been dropped into the world. How do people harness that new resource? And that resource might be people, minerals, drugs, power. The Dune, the entire Frank Herbert Dune series is about spice, and it is a resource. The 4400 are a resource. The X-Men, the mutants, are a resource. So, and that resource could be people, places, and or things, or any combination of those. And that resource, how do people react to this resource? And sometimes that resource may be very dangerous to acquire, meaning like, yes, an individual can look at people and explode their brains, but what if that individual is not on your side? That is a person, a resource that a faction may want to acquire, but acquiring that resource, getting that person on your side, may be very difficult. So what happens? Do you threaten their families? Does that faction try to reward them with status or money or favors, or appease something in their background that will get them on your side? And that actually happens in the show 4400. Our character that can heal people becomes a bit of a messiah who ends up getting, at one point in the show, getting used by a character in the show who actually has zero powers, and ends up getting used by others in the show. And so our healer character, who just wants to help people and heal them from diseases and afflictions and injuries and mental illnesses and things like that, ends up getting pushed and pulled because the ability to heal people is a valuable resource. And so a lot of times in speculative fiction, we get a resource, and that resource could be people, like I said, people, places, and things. People with special powers, special skills. Let me use the heroine's labyrinth. People with a sacred fire who want to harness that sacred fire from our main characters. Places. A place may be a place that allows us, if we go to that place, it allows us the ability to see the future. It allows us to live eternally and get eternal life. That resource may be a monolith, a golden fluid coming from the ground that doesn't taste like urine at all. It could be the time tombs from the Hyperion and Endymion series, the 4-book series by Dan Simmons, which is excellent. And there's a reason why it got so many awards. It's things like that. Yeah. Drew says, my special power, Sacred Fire, is that I can drop words on the internet. It sure is. Oh, me. Yes. And my Sacred Fire is trying to maintain order and structure on a live stream when I'm easily distracted by you guys. So, while we didn't delve very deeply into the plots in the 4400, it is a high concept show of 4400 human beings that were abducted through various periods of our past, whether it was a month ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, 100 years ago, and brought back to Earth at one time, having never aged, gifted with some questionable psychic abilities. And why were they here, and the plots that involve these individuals. Again, even the show themselves, there was a faction from the future that wanted to change the future for the better, and another faction that wanted to stop it because maybe they felt we shouldn't be modified. Maybe our history should lead itself forward or whatever. They never answered. They never answered it. So, and they even threw in the marked were individuals from the future that inhabited the brains of those from the past. They didn't explain it. And even that little part became its own television show, not directly, but it became its own television show, Travelers, which which has its own special premise. With Travelers, people from the future go back in time to people who should have died, but they take over their brains at the moments of their death to inhabit their bodies to bring about a better future by being agents in the past, right? And maybe eliminating those who are going to bring about the downfall in the future. I believe there was even another show called, I was about to call it Conundrum. It's called Continuum, which is another time travel television series. Beautiful Canadian people. I see you, beautiful Canadian people. Relatively low budget, beautiful Canadian people. Quasi demi Canadian individuals who do these sci-fi shows. I love you all. Yes, these are a lot of these television shows, and some pretty fun stuff. As a matter of fact, what's coming up here? Let me show you guys some thumbnails that I have worked on, and just to share out some of these, because I don't know, they're kind of fun. They're kind of cool. Yeah, let's share this out just before we get out of here, and just to show you what's coming up. I don't know what order I'm going to produce any of these, but yeah, these are coming up. So what do we have? We've got the 4400. We have the Demi Canadian infiltrators. Hells yeah, they're shit lords. Yeah, hells yeah. So we have the Ascension. We have the Event, which is, listen, the title of the show, The Event, for its time, is pretty damn like patting themselves on the back, because the television series, The Event, happened during a period of time where event-driven television was a thing, and they tried to capitalize on it by patting themselves like, yeah, our show is literally the event. Like, it is going to be the event of the season and stuff. The show was mediocre, but yeah. We're going to do the Phoenix Earth Final Conflict, which I actually like the show with the Synod and stuff. Andromeda and Earth Final Conflict were two Roddenberry shows, Gene Roddenberry television shows. It had middling success, but again, high concept shows as well. Almost Human and shows like it. There were also various BBC and American stateside shows that were called Human, basically about human-looking androids and robots in various social and action forms. Almost Human was far more detective, procedural, but there were the other shows just called Human were about androids, but same thing. Blind Spot, another high concept mystery box show, far more mystery box than a little bit. It deserves its own explanation, because for those who never watched the show, a lot of you will go, what? And you'll be right. We've got La Femme Nikita. Sometimes it's been shortened to literally just Nikita. Another high concept show, far more action oriented, and I think fits really well into tabletop role-playing game, especially if you have players who want to run and gun. Dark Matter, another one that's a little bit of a run and gun as well, with a great high concept for character creation, including down to the names of the characters, starting at 1 through 6 and so on. And of course, we're going to talk about Quantum Leap. We're also going to get back into more generalized science fiction, and we're probably going to revisit a lot of things that we've already talked about, but maybe with new eyes. So we're going to talk about like orbital strikes, piracy versus war, why dark cities. Another one is orbital habitats, like sci-fi dungeons, foreshadow limitations, the best RPG practice. It's actually foreshadow and limitations are best TTRPG practice. We got partial success, and my favorite saying, yes, no, if and or buts. And then here's some other ones. I don't know what order we're going to do them in, but folding space or star drives, how they don't work is best for TTRPGs. Well, we're going to get to other things like what's some other concept? What am I thinking of? Um, uh, um, Genres of science fiction. Like, for example, how do we do a utopian society like Star Trek versus like Warhammer, turning that into a game to something maybe more interpersonal, like what's a more interpersonal? Um, the Expanse versus like an Altered Carbon or a Battlestar Galactica and things like that. So we'll get into those kind of things. So guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I do really appreciate your time and energy and your attention being here. Um, I, I value it more than a little bit. I like I expressed to Deadman in the stream. While it may seem like I'm not responding to a lot of your comments, I do read them. Part of my job is I actually can't respond because I drive all day. I don't work in front of a computer. I work outside. I'm a letter carrier. I'm a mailman. But I take all of that to heart. So thank you very much for expressing your interest in that. Normally, I used to end the show with "Create, Don't Destroy," and my reasoning for the "Create, Don't Destroy" is it's very easy for us in that very primal child side of ourselves to measure our loves by our hates. And I beseech all of you as creatives and community members and kind folks, please don't measure your loves by your hates. There's no reason that you have to hate something or be part of a group that demands that you must hate something in order to like some other kind of geekosphere. So Shai says, yeah, thanks for the show and good luck making through Murder Kill Monday, aka Tuesday. You're gonna have to listen, you're gonna have to give me a full rundown of like a calendar. Like, okay, so Tuesdays are Murder Kill Mondays. Mondays are, but Wednesdays are Hump Day. Thursdays are, what are they? Pre-Fridays? It's like you're gonna have to give me this whole thing. Give it to me. Give it to me raw. That's not. That isn't a good way to end the show. But I'm going to end it on that. Last note is, yes, I am working on a tabletop role-playing game called Obsidian Star. Yes, it is a post-human, transhumanist, near-future setting based within our own solar system out to the Oort cloud. And yes, it is a 2D12 system, the art and science system. And yes, I will be talking about it further in the future. I have also, Dead Man, I have also looked up finding both affordable and expensive ways to get custom D12 dice made. Black ones and white ones, opposite colors because it's an art and science system. There's a light turn and light turn, dark turn system in the game. And I'm actually thinking about doing a bit of an overhaul of the dice system. And I think you guys might not like me doing such a big overhaul, but I'm going to run it past you and it may be necessary. Measuring love by hate would be a great lyric for a serious band. You don't consider yourself to be a serious band member? You're part of a serious band. Hump Day is also known as Mountain Festival in literal German translation. Really? That's a I why did I not see such an apparent translation of that? I like that. I like that as well. I wonder in the future with different time schedules and different planets, would we have those um random periods of time used for festival like activities? I don't know. I think isn't it like 45 minutes or 35 minutes that Mars is off of a 24-hour schedule or something? Um, what is the day time rotation on Mars? As Mars orbits the sun. It completes one rotation every 24.6 hours, which is very similar to one Earth day, 23.9 hours. Martian days are called sols, short for solar day. A year on Mars lasts 669.6 sols, which is the same as 687 Earth days. 37 minutes. Why is a day on Mars 37 minutes longer than a day on Earth? Mars spins a bit slower around its axis than Earth, so each day on Mars is a little longer. It lasts 24 hours and 37 minutes. A Martian day is called a sol. Planets also travel in orbit around the sun. So, sorry, I bring that up to say how cool it would be on Mars that people take 37-minute breaks. So it says Bergfest, and no, we are not a serious band. It's always been borderline comedy. Okay. Yeah. Bergfest. Okay. Mountain festival. Like I was saying, I wonder if Mars would have a 37-minute break time or festives, or like this 37-minute break in time might be very common. It could be planet wide, although I doubt that. I doubt it would be planet wide, but it may be a period of time where people just like stop to go outside and socialize or meditate, or work isn't done, or it's when computers are rebooted, or I don't know, defragged, or something, the old school. Maybe I'm being a little bit weird and thinking too deeply about it, but that's one of my issues. So guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being on the show. I will take you out with a little music and Obsidian Star Foley's here. Guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for spending your time here. It's very valuable. I hope I can make change for your tabletop science fiction role-playing experiences. Peace and tranquility.